Hello, my name is Veronica Rushtain. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome group number 5. I'm honored to bring to your attention our project on prohibition. Prohibition in the United States marked the last stage of the progressive era. In our presentation, we'll go through the history of the events from 1920 to 1933. We'll show you the general effects and unintended consequences of prohibition of the United States, and such as the increase in illegal production of alcohol and sale of alcohol, the spread of speakeasy bars, and the rise of the mafia. And now Yeri Capone will tell us more about the history of prohibition in the US.
Oh, thank you, Rothstein. Prohibition in the United States was designed to reduce drinking by eliminating the businesses related to alcoholic beverages. The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution took away licenses to the business from those people. The leaders of the Prohibition movement were alarmed at the drinking behavior of Americans, and they were concerned that there was a culture of drink among some sectors of the population that, with continuing immigration from Europe, was spreading. The Prohibition movement's strength grew, especially after the formation of the Anti-Sullivan League in 1893. The League and other organizations that supported prohibition, such as the Women's Christian Temperance Union, soon began to succeed in enacting local prohibition laws. Eventually, the prohibition campaign was a national effort. During this time, the brewing industry was the most prosperous of the alcoholic beverage industries. Because of the competitive nature of brewing, the brewers entered the retail business. To expand the sale of beer, brewers expanded the number of saloons. It was not uncommon to find one saloon on every block, so there was a competition between them. To earn greater profits, saloon keepers sometimes introduced other vices, such as gambling and prostitution, into their establishments in an attempt to get more customers and therefore more money. The prohibition leaders believed that once licenses were removed from the liquor business, they could see Americans to stop drinking. However, it didn't happen. And now, Lucky Rashta will tell us more about how prohibition affected people.
Thank you, Kaplan. Hi, everyone. So, as you know, my name is Lucky Rasha, and I'm gonna talk about how prohibition affected the American society. When the prohibition era began in 1920, a few sage observers predicted it would not go well. Prohibition was such a failure. When the law went into effect in 1920, only gangsters, bootleggers, corrupt officers, and agent prohibition seemed to benefit. It created a vast illegal market of production, trafficking, and sales of alcohol. And as the decade progressed, jails overflowed. The initial effect of prohibition were largely negative. The economy took a major hit. America immediately lost a big amount of illegal jobs and and tax revenue. As example, for example, here in New York City, almost 75% of their tax came from alcohol. Prohibition law also has had some unintended consequences. As we all know, all laws has exceptions and loopholes. Actually, that was the case of prohibition law. One of the legal exceptions was that pharmacists were allowed to dispense alcohol or whiskey by prescriptions. Then bootleggers discovered that running a pharmacy was a great front or perfect front for their trade. Also, Americans were allowed to obtain wine for religious purposes. You can imagine at that moment, enrollment rose at churches and synagogues. Something else, the law was unclear when it came to American making wine at home. The law that was meant to stop people from drinking was instead turning many of them into expert on how to make it, which had for sure bad or serious consequences for public health. Prohibition nearly ruined the country. There were, by the end of 1920, more alcoholics and more illegal establishments than before Prohibition. More explanation gonna be presented by Crazy Rami.
In the Prohibition era, there was a high demand for alcohol. This created an atmosphere that tolerated crime. Criminals and politicians saw the opportunity to make fortunes and began shipping larger quantities of alcohol to the US. During the late 19th century, waves of Italians came to America in search of better economic opportunities. Italian-American gangs start a liquor smuggling business and transform themselves into sophisticated criminal enterprises. Also, the Sicilian mafia in Italy was under attack from the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, and some of them escaped to the US and got involved in the bottling business. The profits from illegal alcohol exceeded the traditional crime of protection, extortion, gambling, and prostitution. Prohibition allowed mafia families to make fortunes. Italian mafia families began wars for absolute control over this business. In New York City, two factions of organized crime had control, one led by Joe Masseria and the other by Salvatore Maranzano. After the murder of Masseria in 1931, Maranzano divided New York City into 5 families. He established the rules for the organization, and all the families had to pay tribute to him as the boss of all bosses. The families didn't like this arrangement and killed Maranzano on the orders of Lucky Luciano. After Prohibition ended in 1933, organized crime needed to find new businesses to replace the alcohol. Some of them found other ventures, such as union, construction, sanitation, and drug trafficking. And now Anastasia will talk about speakeasies during Prohibition and the bars that still exist around New York City today.
Hello, thank you, Rami. All right, let's talk about speakeasies. Speakeasies were secret bars which used to illegally sell alcoholic beverage during the prohibitions. They were hidden within stores, restaurants, and other businesses. Some of speakeasies similar to today's clubs with live jazz music and dance performances. To enter to these bars, this kind of bars, you would need to know secret knock, or you would need to say the password to a door person. The quality of alcohol sold in speakeasies could range from very poor to very good, but cheap liquor was mostly used in this kind of bars. The taste of this alcohol was horrible. That's why a lot of kinds of cocktails were created to mask the taste.
Often, speakeasies serve the alcohol beverage in teacups in case of rain. They use special slang words to name their cocktails. The bee's knees, the gin fizz, the monkey rum. You can find the same name of cocktails at today's bars, but it will be, I'm sure it will be much better than before. Nobody knows how many bars were opened at the time of prohibitions. But can you imagine that only in New York were opened around 100,000 speakeasy bars? The Prohibition era finished at 1933, and the necessity of this kind of bars is gone, but entertainment values remains, and a lot of speakeasy bars exist now, not only in the United States of America, but also over the world. It's something cool about having a couple of drinks in the bar, which not too many people know about. And the secret bars make you feel like an insider, and you can imagine being in the time of prohibition. I'm gonna show you a couple of pictures, like for examples of this bar which exists now. This bar in Japan, you can go through a refrigerated door. It's funny. And another one, this bar in Los Angeles, and the door is like fake bookshelf. I also would like to say about my experience with speakeasy bars. I was at a bar in New York which named Please Don't Tell, and you can go, you can get to this bar only through a telephone booth. And I also went to a bar in San Diego, which you can reach only through a wine barrel. I think it's funny, and if you would like to know more about this kind of bar, you can just Google it and make your own experience. Thank you, everybody, and now Veronica will conclude our presentation.
From our presentation, you can see that prohibition did more damage than good. No matter what law government makes to control alcohol, people inevitably will always try to break it. So when prohibition was repealed, there was a dramatic decrease in alcohol consumption and dramatic decrease in crime rates. This shows that the American nation knew that the prohibition was a big mistake. However, in every mistake there's something to be learned. And I hope that today from our presentation you have learned something about prohibition in the history of US and other different things like speakeasy bars. Thank you for your attention.